Well, hello and welcome back for the second time. Yeah, last night we put up a video of me doing the allotment challenge, and we had some technical issues with the sound, so we're going to do it again. Unfortunately, I have forgotten Santa's hat and tinsel for said bush here, but there you go. It's sitting at home on the kitchen table, and I've completely forgotten it, so I apologise. I'm going to go straight to nominations first, actually. In the video that we've taken down now, I nominated Dave from Dave's Allotment, and that's Blue Star Dave. He's already done his, so I very much enjoyed watching that last night. And the thing I would like to say is I think I can speak on behalf of everyone that commiserations out to Ray, who is his plot neighbour next door. He built the most amazing greenhouse, and this storm Desmond, I mean, it's horrific. It's completely flattened it. He spent 3 months on it. So, Ray, if you're watching, really sorry to see that, mate. I'm sure you're heartbroken, and I think that everyone agrees that you've done a grand job on it. Hopefully, you'll get it back up. The second one that I was going to nominate was, in replace of Dave, was Jane's Allotment, Jane Kelly, and again she put her one up last night. Loved watching that, so no need for me to nominate you, Jane, but very good. We thoroughly enjoyed watching it. And for you guys that don't know Jane, go search her on YouTube and have a look for yourself. Finally, the one that I will nominate, and I have spoken to him, good news folks, he will do it, is Chris Muzzle from the Allotment Shed. Now, Chris, if you don't know him, he has got a YouTube channel, a Facebook group, and also a radio show. Now, he does a radio show every Sunday morning at 8 AM British time. It's www.a1radio.co.uk. And if you go along there, you can tune in. He's got a chat room on there, all sorts of topics being discussed, etc. And I believe he's just about to hook up Skype, so people can phone directly into the studio and talk live on air. So yeah, Chris Muzzle, I nominate you to do the allotment challenge, and I look forward to seeing that next week. I know you said you'll get it sorted, so folks, look out for that one. Right, on to me and my questions. It's the standard 10 questions that's been doing the circuit, so here we go. How long have you had your allotment for? Question 1. Well, this is my 3rd season of growing. I've always wanted an allotment for years, but I never really got round to doing it. I had a plot over on the back, over the far side of the site, which was my first one. I worked on that for a whole year, got it absolutely lovely, and then gave it up. And the reason I gave it up is because I took this plot on. And this one is very, very close to my large polytunnel, which is just over there. It's also got water very close, so it was a bit of a no-brainer really. I took this on, and I've been working on it ever since and improving it and getting it how I wanted it. Question 2. How long did you have to wait for your allotment? Well, I was very, very lucky. I only waited 9 months. I found this place pretty much by accident. I was out walking the dog through a little cut through and noticed there was allotments here, and I didn't even know they were here. I'd only just moved into the area. Contacted the chairman, put my name down. 9 months later, hey presto, I got an offer, and I got myself an allotment. So yeah, I know though a lot of you are waiting sometimes up to years. So if you are, even if you're not ready for an allotment but you're thinking about it, just go and get your name down. It could be 2, 3, 4, even more years before you get that phone call. So it's worth getting your name on the list. Question 3. Where did I learn about gardening? Well, I always recall when I was very, very young, we used to go to Wales quite a lot to see family. And I had an uncle up in Wales that had a terraced garden. A lot of the houses, it was a bungalow actually, very steep. And my first ever sort of thing that I recall being pulled from the ground was radish. He pulled this radish out and it had a little maggot coming out of it. And he went, nothing wrong with that. Which completely freaked me out, but anyway, it sort of stuck the fact that things come out of the ground firmly in my mind. on from that, my grandfather used to grow in a greenhouse in his garden, and he had a small vegetable plot. He grew sweet peas, and he was forever cursing because his tomatoes and ripe figs were going missing quite often. I used to be down there all the time scoffing them. He had the most amazing tasting tomatoes you can imagine, and the secret to that was he used to feed them with beer yeast. It was the dead yeast from brewing beer, and he brewed loads of it. Stout, beer, you name it, wine. You know, often things were exploding in the garage. So he did that. He also had an arch rival called Harold Thew, who was his best mate really, and the two of them used to compete on growing all sorts of different veg, and yeah, I always remember that they were always trying to find some excuse to get into each other's back gardens to have a little nose about and see what was growing and this, that and the other. But I do recall one year we were still round my nan's for Sunday lunch, all the family were there, and he was sitting at the table, my granddad, and he said, "Oh, Megan," he goes, "this onion's lovely, where'd you get that from?" And she went, "Oh, I got that big one hanging up in the garage." Well, he almost choked. I'll never forget his face. It was just the look of, you know, shock, horror. He jumped up from the table, went running down to the garage, and the rest is history. There was a lot of swearing, I can tell you that. That was his prize onion, and I think it was, now thinking back to what that onion looked like, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. I think it was one of like the big Kelsey ones. But that was going to be his prize winner, and it was what he was going to finally beat old Harold Thew with. But so yeah, my interest really and early days was that. When I actually got the allotment many moons later, I found the quickest way to learn was just to get to know the people around you. Some of the people on site here, you know, they've been gardening for decades. What they don't know about allotmenteering and gardening and this, that and the other is not really worth knowing, and they're more than happy to share that information with you if you get to talk to them. So, you know, there's that. I've done quite a bit of reading. I've never done any sort of formal courses, horticultural courses or anything like that. I'm a complete novice, to be fair, and every day for me is a school day. Do I plan to plant a winter garden? Well, I'm right down here in the south of England. The south coast is literally only about 4 miles away, so it's fairly mild most of the year down here. I have got some winter crops. They're okay. The cabbages, the January Kings and things like that, they're doing fantastically. Disaster with sprouts, really. Didn't really do much at all. But because I took this one on this year, say this year, it was winter last year actually, I've done a lot of work preparing it, so I haven't really had an opportunity to prepare for like loads of winter crops. Next year is going to be different. I've got the polytunnel, the big one, all sorted out now, and I'll have a lot more time. Like the big projects like putting this shed up and moving the other shed over, etc., they're all pretty much out the way now. There's a couple of other little things that I want to finish off on, and then I've got pretty much free time just for gardening, and that's when I'm going to really try and push the winter garden for next year. Right, question 5. What has been your biggest success this year or ever? Well, my Cape gooseberries did really well. They were just huge and filled up that big polytunnel. My tomato crop, excellent. I had really good results with that. I produced some absolutely lovely ones. Some of the Beef Master variety and the Black Cherry was really good. Loved those. My sweet corn did really well. And I grew some really nice, tasty international kidney potato, or as with me and you would know them, Jersey Royals. And I did those in the seaweed compost that I made. Okay, 6. What has been your biggest gardening disaster? Carrots and parsnips. Less said about that, the better. Really, I don't know. I need to build a proper sandbox and grow them in the media that they enjoy. I did try it on beds over here. I've added sand and I've sieved all the stones out and everything else, but I think the location was wrong. It's too shaded where they were. So again, this season they are number 1 and 2 targets to achieve some decent carrots and parsnips. If you've got any tips for me, please comment below. Question 7, do I have a tried and true crop variety that I always grow? Well, the answer to that is not really. I've not been doing it long enough to establish, a playlist almost of crops. I do like the kestrel potatoes. I really like them. Lovely to eat, and they really have worked well for me as well this year. So I will be definitely doing them next year. I did really well with the Cavallo Nero or dinosaur kale. I love the flavour of that stuff. I will definitely be growing that next year. Makes great kale crisps. Packed loads of iron in it, really tasty. So yeah. What's another unusual one I've done? Actually, well, this year I did alpine strawberries. I grew a dwarf pear tree. I've got a dwarf pear tree, and I've filled the whole base of it with alpine strawberries, and they've just completely filled it. They taste amazing. Get yourself a packet of seeds of them and just plant yourself up some. I did mine from seed. They came on, and they're just really really lovely strawberry flavour, a natural strawberry flavour as well. I've got Japanese wineberry. I'm trying that out. But I think in general, I think it's important to get your basics. The cabbage, your brassicas, your potato, and just have one or two things that you're trying out. Because obviously every crop you grow comes with its own problems, and you don't really want a whole season full of headache and scratching head and problems. Just stick with the majority, your basics, and then maybe dedicate a bed to something new, something different, and see how it goes. And that would be my advice. That's what I'm doing anyway. Are you planning on trying anything new next year? Question 8. Well, if I can find the seed, I would like to try and grow a black or blue sweet corn, and I believe it's a Mexican variety. So if any of you know where I can source those seeds, please do comment below. I'd be very interested to hear from you. Now this here is a guava plant or bush shrub, otherwise known as ugni berry, and it was a favourite of Queen Victoria. It produces a little red berry that tastes incredible. It's got like a fragrant, perfumey, almost like a rose type quality flavour to it. And this is the only one I've got, and it produces at least, I suppose, a good handful like that of berries each year. It's doubled in size since I've had it, and I've had it 2 years. I saved 2 big berries from that this year, squeezed out the pulp that contained the berries, the seed, and I used Tony's method of extracting tomato plant seeds by putting them in water to separate them. That worked really well. So I've got about 20 odd seeds for this, and I'm going to have a go at growing from seed. I know it is a very slow growing plant, so I'm expecting slow germination. I haven't really got a clue on how to do it, so if any of you have ever had experience in growing guava, again, comment below. I'd be really grateful for that. But I do want to have quite a few more of these plants, and I suspect in a row they'd make a really good hedge. You could trim them up and train them, and they'd produce fruit for you. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing next year for the oddball stuff. How do I preserve my crops? Number 9. Well, I vacuum pack and freeze quite a lot of my crops. So all my soft fruit, rhubarb, beans, sweet corn, it's all vacuum packed. I've got a pretty much box standard, well, it's a sort of high-end domestic version, which is by Andrew James. You can get that anywhere. In fact, I think I've put it on the website. I'm not sure. But that's a really good bit of kit, and it saves loads of space, and it preserves all that freshness. You can boil them straight in the bag, to cook them through. The other thing I've got is the Andrew James dryer. So I have experimented with drying bits and pieces. I dried a load of plums this year, and they're really nice. They're quite tart, but they're chewy. I dried tomatoes in them. You can dry all sorts of stuff. So that's one way. Another way that I love is chutney. I just love it. Best breakfast in the world really. Toast, chutney, fried egg, salt, pepper, paprika. Heaven. I could eat that all day long. So yeah, right, final question then. What is your favourite meal to cook with veg from the plot? Well, it's pretty much the standard answer that everyone's given, and that's roast dinner. I just love it. I love veg, I love my roast. And funny enough, since I've been growing my own, I have found that whereas I used to have meat and 3 veg on the plate, I've now got sort of meat and 8 veg. So, you know, if it's in season, if it's ready to pull up, it goes on the plate. No two ways about it. The only thing I don't like is asparagus. I tried it 20 years ago. I didn't like it then. I tried it last year. I still don't like it. So yeah, that's a bit of a strange one. It really is just the flavour of it. I find it really quite off-putting. So I must have weird taste buds, because I know loads of people rant and rave about it, and that's fine. But for me, it's no. I won't be doing that. Right, so what we've done? We've done the questions. That's it. And we've done nominations. So that's Chris Muzzle. The last thing I want to mention to you is that on the UK Here We Grow website, we are running an advent calendar. And if you've ever signed up for the newsletter, entered any of our competitions like the Kings one that we did, or just signed up for the advent calendar, all of the people that signed up that are on the mailing list all went into the random name generator that Tony uses, and we generated 25 names. We're publishing those daily, and if you're one of the lucky ones whose name pops up, there'll be an email that comes out to you about 5 p.m. on the day, and there's instructions in there on how to send us your address, etc. And we've got some little presents for you. So it's our pleasure, and hope you enjoy that. I say it on YouTube because I know there's people on YouTube that don't necessarily follow us in the Facebook group, which is great and growing really fast at the moment. Loads of good chat going on in there at the moment as well. So, you know, again, that goes back to that learning thing. You know, the only silly question is the question that you don't ask, and the community are all there to help out, and they'll tell you straight away. So, and likewise, people on Facebook might not necessarily watch us on YouTube, but I've got 1 or 2 names that haven't come back to me yet, so I'm suspecting you are probably just YouTubers. So if it is you, head over to the website, have a look, advent calendar, see if your name's there, and drop us a line, and then we can get those little presents out to you. So anyway, from me, without said Santa's hat and tin salt for guava tree, I wish you a very, very happy Christmas and a new year, and a successful growing season for 2016.